Hello and welcome to the 21st edition of the Bookbreakrs podcast. That's one more than the number of league titles that United have won, actually, isn't it? With me, as ever, is Paul and the Fountains of Reason.
Have to say, you're just teeing both of us up for some terrible abuse with that. But go on anyway.
Yeah. So for people who are new to the pod, myself and Paul are United fans, and Enda is a Liverpool fan. The Fountains of Reason, as we call them. So we're going to talk. There's only one thing we can talk about this week, and that's the United Liverpool game. Here he is. He's off already. Paul actually picked up a ticket for the game late on, so it'd be good to get his views of what happened in the stands. And we know a lot of people were seen leaving the game early and stuff, so we'll get Paul's input on that. But yeah, Liverpool beat United 5-0 yesterday at Old Trafford in front of a packed house. Mo Salah scored a hat-trick. I believe it was the first ever hat-trick scored at Old Trafford in the league. And I'm not a man for stats now, lads, but I think it was the first hat-trick at Old Trafford since Ronaldo, the other Ronaldo. Would that be right?
By an opposition.
Yeah.
By an opposition. I can't recall one. There hasn't been that many over the years.
There was one in 1971.
No, in the Premier League. In the Premier League.
Oh, Premier League.
Yeah. Okay, so
football didn't exist before the Premier League, according to you.
Correct. That is correct. All known records. Right. So, Paul, we'll cut straight to you. We'll let you get this off your chest. You're at the game. Tell us how it went down.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only positive I can take from the whole day yesterday was the fact that I didn't actually have to pay for the ticket. Other than that, I'd be even more irate than I currently am. I mean,
so hold on. So, former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern met you. He got the privilege of meeting you. I'm sure.
I had the free ticket. I had the free ticket before I met Bertie. Just let's clear something up here. I'm not in Bertie's pockets, nor is he in mine, or anything like that.
Go on.
So just before there's any tribunals or anything like that, I'm not. Me and Bertie Ahern just happened to bump into one another. Just got acquainted, had a photo.
He's a regular listener. Was it him who asked for the photo?
It was actually, yeah, it was. I mean, he's clearly a big fan. He's subscribed his whole family this week, apparently. Yeah. So but anyway,
no, that was
dire. Dire is the only thing I could say to describe that. I've been at a lot of games at Old Trafford over the years, and I have never ever seen such a swathe of people leave any game early. I'll be the first to admit I left with 15 minutes to go. I probably could have left with 15 minutes of the first half to go. It was as bad. It was as bad as I've ever seen. I think, either live or on TV from United. I mean, from the get-go, Liverpool were entirely dominant. The atmosphere before the game was brilliant. It almost gave you a false belief that we could do something that we really haven't looked like doing in the weeks leading up to the game. But from the minute the whistle went, it was blatantly obvious that we were going to lose. It was a matter of by how many, really. And I think this is a culmination of not just 10 or 12 games this season, or even the last 6 to 9 months. This has been since Solskjaer was given his permanent contract at United. This has been coming, and this has been slowly but surely building. This nonsense he came out with after the game yesterday, that when he was asked if he'd consider leaving, and he said, when we're so close, why would I when we're so close? Some nonsense like that. When you're close to what? What exactly are United close to? I mean, they're close to not qualifying for Europe. They're close to turning into the new Arsenal. except at least Arsenal had the decency to not spend an absolute fortune in getting themselves to the position that they're in. You know, they've over the years notoriously not spent much money, whereas United have spent infinite amounts of money on world-class and supposed world-class players to be in a position where they get beaten 5-0 without a fight at home to their biggest rivals. And be under no illusion, Liverpool are United's biggest rivals. Mancunians would probably argue that the Manchester derby, is the big one for them. It really isn't. It really isn't, because Man City are Johnny come latelys. You know, it's always been United and Liverpool. It always will be United and Liverpool. They're the two biggest clubs in the Northwest, because they're self-created clubs. And to see the total capitulation of United yesterday against Liverpool was absolutely shocking. And I've listened to the radio today. I listened to the radio last night. I watched the nonsense on Sky Sports. Gary Neville he just needs to get off the television. Sky Sports are paying him to be an impartial commentator on games. He's not. He's not. If there's anyone out there who thinks that Gary Neville is being impartial on Sky Sports, then because there is absolutely no way that man can sit there and in any way defend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what's gone on the last couple of years. He was the first one to have a go at Mourinho for his style of play. At least Mourinho had a style of play. It wasn't the one that United fans wanted to see. Louis van Gaal, same. No, like, he had a style of play. We knew what we were being set up to do. What United are currently is a collection of players put onto a football field with no instruction, and we hope for the best.
Yeah, and
it was very evident.
Yeah, and you know, the problem is, I think United's fans have become spoiled, right, in the last 20 years. You touch on style of play there, but because it's not a Barca style of play, and I know I'm kind of poking a bit of fun here, but because it's not Pep-tastic and, you know, scoring 4 or 5 every game and all this kind of thing, we seem to think that any other style is not good enough. And actually, we've had managers come. Moyes was a victim because he came in with a way of playing, wasn't exciting enough. Good luck. Van Gaal, Mourinho, all the same thing. And you know what? Those are experienced managers who probably looked at the squad and thought, actually, you are talented, but what you need is method, and what you need is, you know, a way of playing. You need structure, and no, not good enough. And the Keane quote is floating around Twitter at the moment, where, you know, he said that this crop of players threw Mourinho under the bus and that they would do the same to Solskjaer, and that is exactly what's happening. Like, fair enough, Solskjaer is probably not the greatest manager in the world, but these guys they're waving the white flag and they're trying to get him sacked. And Pogba coming on and trying to break Keita's leg was just another way for them to try and do that. Right. So on that, Enda, do you want to come in and give us your views?
My views, sure, along the same lines as Paul. They didn't show up, but like, you're comparing the management styles. A, Liverpool have a style, United don't. B, Liverpool have a plan, United don't. Like, United had 4 different teams out there. The last day, they had the back 4 disjointed but somewhat of a unit all over the shop. And why, to a degree, you'd have a small bit of sympathy on them, because what was happening was, and it was clearly a plan by Liverpool, that they'd take one defender out of position, because they knew the wingers weren't tracking back. Greenwood wasn't tracking back. Fernandez wasn't tracking back. And then it's all open, because everyone has to slide to the right. Boof, 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 3 passes, bang, goal. That happened for the first 3 goals. So after the first goal, any manager, except Ole, obviously, spots this and go, right, where's my tactics board? I have to stop this. 3 times it happened. It happened another 2 times. They're almost identical goals. All of them. Then you had Fred and McTominay getting overrun. You're talking about what did Fred cost? 50 million versus Milner free signing. I think Jordan Henderson was 23 million when they bought him, and Keita was 40 odd million. Keita was having the day of his life yesterday. I felt so sorry for him. Like I said, Jesus, finally we're seeing the player that we thought we'd see, and he's getting a run of games. And then Pogba comes on, and I'm pretty sure he broke his leg. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah. So Enda, okay. So Enda, like you said there, that United had 4 teams or whatever going on, and I tend to agree with you, like this. He didn't make changes when he needed to make changes, and I know I remember in the second half, Cavani came on, and I just thought to myself, like, what are you doing exactly? Like, it's like the game is completely over, and now you're bringing on, Tellez and Dallo and Cavani. Like, I just got this sense of like, just what is going on? I had no clue.
Well, like I was saying, so you had your 4 different units, teams, whatever. You had, like I said, Fred McTominay getting overran, and then you had your front 3 of Fernandez, was it Rashford and Greenwood, and they were doing what they liked. They wouldn't. One lad would make a half-hour's press, the others wouldn't bother. Someone would just run by them, they'd let them off. And then you have Ronaldo, who does what he likes.
Yeah. And
wave up his hand every time a goal goes away, or lucky to stay on the field, possibly.
There was a lot of petulance on show from Ronaldo yesterday. That kick on Curtis, that was prime example. But if we go back to the first goal, right, and I think to your point, and Liverpool were kind of doing a bit of, it was a bit of ticky-tacky. On the right hand side of the box, and then very noticeably Shaw got sucked in very close to Maguire, and then like Maguire just went piling in like a bull in a china shop, the boys just played it around him, and then out to Keita, and it was very noticeable that Rashford suddenly woke up from his slumber and hadn't tracked the run. And it's just a tap in, So like there's a load of issues there. There's the tracking back, there's the lack of focus, there's Maguire not talking to Shaw. Like it's just, where do you start, Paul?
A shit show.
Yeah.
A shit show. Like,
where do you start?
You could go on about all the goals were the same. So it's a shit show from the manager to begin with. All the goals are the same. He did nothing about it.
Yeah. Was there anything in the stands that stuck out, Paul?
Yeah, well, very evident. Obviously, people were leaving before halftime. And it wasn't just you knew there were people who weren't coming back. There weren't just people sneaking out to get to the bar quicker at halftime. People were leaving. The Liverpool fans didn't stop singing, and quite honestly, taking the piss from the first minute to the last minute. And good luck to them. They deserve that. They were in a position to do it. But United fans, I actually seen in front of me, and I think this is the level that United have sunk to now. Probably about an hour into the game, there was a group of fans leaving the section that I was in, and another couple of fans got up and started abusing them, saying, support your team, and their retort was, "Oh, Ollie's at the wheel, Ollie's at the wheel," and that's where we're at. United fans, and this is the thing I don't understand. Everywhere I read about it, United fans are split on Solskjaer. Who are the ones that are supporting this man? How can you? No, you couldn't. You couldn't.
I was up, but I was giving him the benefit of the doubt for a very long time.
It doesn't. But the benefit of the doubt is something that you have to in some way earn. He's earned nothing as a manager at United. No respect.
The reason he earned my patience, I won't say respect, but
for a tap in 22 years ago.
No, absolutely not. No, he earned my giving him a shot this season, because largely due to the unbeaten away record last season, and in my mind, we fill up Old Trafford, we fix the home issue, which is what we had last season. Like, if we fixed our home form, we're title contenders. Throw Sancho, Varane into the mix, and surely it's the only way is up. And it's just, I just cannot believe how it's turned out.
But who are the teams with the best home form? Like they're teams with the best managers. You know, Mourinho went something like was it 90 something games or some ridiculous thing without losing a home game. You know, Liverpool went an awful long time. I can't remember the exact numbers without losing a home game. This is because the players and the fans have confidence in that manager, and the team becomes unbeatable. No matter how badly they're playing, they become unbeatable because everything's connected as a unit. You know, the manager, the players, the fans, everything is connected. And there's a fear created within the opposition by that. There is no fear. There has been no fear of coming to Old Trafford for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Really, really long time.
On reflection, I suppose that away run was in a season where, you know, you didn't have full stadiums and stuff, you know, and maybe that
on
reflection,
we could have and probably should have lost half of those games. You know, and you can, there's only so far you can take this we great fighting spirit. We came back. You know, if you look at the games, the two games in the last, I think in the last 9 that we've actually won was Villarreal, where we had really shouldn't have won that game. If Villarreal had taken their chances in the first half, we were looking at a hiding similar to the one we got yesterday. You know, and the other one was the West Ham game.
We could easily have lost the last 7 or 8 games. Easy.
But it wouldn't surprise me for a second if he stays in charge, if we lose the next 5 or 6. If I'm really struggling to see how the Glazers or whoever actually runs United on a day-to-day basis could actually sit there and say we're behind him. We believe in what he's doing. If anybody comes out and says that, anybody from higher level of United, then the next fan protest, and I'm pro Glazer. I've said it here before. I'm pro Glazer. I don't think they've sucked the blood from the club like everyone else has. I think they've put money into it. I'm not going to get into whose money it was, blah blah blah. But they've not been the horrendous owners I think that people think they have been. But I will join the next protest if they come out and say that they're backing Solskjaer or they believe in what he's doing, because that man has not got a clue. He will never have a clue. Yesterday, this is the difference between the two managers. Yeah, I don't know if you could see this on television, but for the entire, whatever, I was there for 75 minutes of that game, Jurgen Klopp was in the technical area, even when they were 5-0 up, giving his team instructions. Yeah. Solskjaer was in the dugout.
He's always been in the dugout.
Mike Phelan was in United's technical area. The reason for that is because as a coach, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has absolutely nothing to offer. Nothing to offer. There was a Cardiff City fan on the radio this evening on my way home from work, and Mick McCarthy got sacked as Cardiff manager at the weekend. And on TalkSport on Drive this evening, they asked if Cardiff would have Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back, and they rang in to say, not a hope. Not a hope. That is what we have managed in our football club.
Yeah.
He will never, ever get a job. Yeah. Manchester Evening News reporting this evening that Richard Arnold is meeting the Glazers tonight to discuss it. Sky Italy is reporting that United made contact with Antonio Conte. Yeah. Please God, I really and honestly hope that's true. I really not, because I can't be more forthright in what I'm saying about that man. He is a disgrace.
Yeah.
Okay. He is a disgrace.
Let's switch lanes for a second then. So Enda, let's maybe look at the Liverpool performance, which is probably getting overlooked a little bit here. But was it a case of Liverpool brilliance, or was your performance based on United just being desperate?
Can I just quickly come in here? I don't even think Liverpool played all that well yesterday. If that had been the Liverpool team from 2 years ago, who destroyed everyone in the league, went 20-odd points clear, that would have been 10-0.
Yeah. Go on, Enda. What's your?
I'm just going to interject on what you were saying first, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's eggs coming home to roost, really. Like you're saying. So no one higher up in United. No one higher up in United can do anything without the Glazers say so, right? The Glazers, they're in United for leverage and debt. Okay, they hired Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because it was a fan favorite appointment. They're buying all these players because they're fan favorites. They're throwing money at it to hide what they're doing. I mean, apparently Old Trafford needs a lick of paint, and there's nothing with it, right? And going back to your point on the away form, right? Take out the penalties out of that. Take out the penalties. Man United were the only team ever in the Premier League. No, wait a minute. Man United were the only team ever in the Premier League to be awarded a penalty 9 minutes into extra time. Okay? Take out the penalties. There's no soft penalties this year. So, like, that's a major attacking threat for United.
Yeah, but look, every team, look, every team gets something, doesn't get them, and I'm a firm believer that it evens out. Like, I think the form
United got the most penalties in Europe, Alan. That is a fact. You're a fan of stats. That is a fact. Okay.
Yeah, look, like that's fine, but you know, I still think at the highest level. Hold on. At the highest level, if you win 5 games in a row, there might be an element of luck in it. If you go unbeaten for whatever it was, you know, 20, 30 games in a row, that's not luck. So I'm not having that. You know.
Yeah, I am having it. It was all penalties. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
It backs up what you just said. It backs up what you just said insofar as that made you think, hold on, we start out the home form, we're going somewhere. Yeah. It's eggs coming home to roost. Yeah. Or chickens or whatever.
I was gonna say, yeah, chickens. Who are these eggs that are laying eggs? Okay,
God, that's going to go
viral. That's going to go viral. You actually asked me then. No, because I just wanted to get that in. You were very adamant there, and what Paul was saying, what you were saying, were actually underlying the point of that hit a lot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there.
This season.
Yeah, I agree with you on the whole Glazers things. I totally agree with you. Like Harry Maguire is another example of we need to buy someone, throw money at it. Like if you had the right manager in there who had a say on signings, then a lot of these guys wouldn't have been signed. Okay, so talk to us about Liverpool then. Like, well, how good do you think they were yesterday?
Like, here, go back to what I said there a couple of minutes ago. They had a plan. They knew United weren't going to play in any way kind of coherently. But if you watch them, they'd on the press, like they'd draw someone out, let the ball go to Fred, and then everyone would gang in on Fred, and he'd just go daft and lose it.
Yeah.
Same with McTominay. And the whole idea was to shift once they got the Man United backline moving, they were all over the shop.
Yeah.
And when you've Salah in the form he is, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, he's very good at the
nice.
He just
would you agree that Liverpool can actually play an awful lot better than they did yesterday?
Oh, they can.
That wasn't as good as I've seen Liverpool.
But they didn't have to.
No, exactly. They didn't have to.
Actually, do you know what? Klopp came out in his interview afterwards and he says, yes, the result is brilliant. Yes, it's the most. And this is again versus Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? Yes, the result is good. Yes, the goals is good. But we'll park that and we'll look at the performance. And like you said, he's on them from minutes 1 to minute start in that technical area. And versus Solskjaer coming out after fucking the big smiley head on him, coming out after Villarreal or coming out after Atalanta. Oh, we've done it again. We're back and all this.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That's a very good point.
If that fooled anybody, if those results fooled anybody, then they are fools.
I tell you, sometimes the little things say a lot, right? And I think it was you said it to me over the weekend, and like when Solskjaer was out on the pitch, high-fiving and hugging all the United players after the Villarreal comeback. If that was Fergie, he'd have been out with a hurley, baiting them off the pitch into the dressing room. You know, he really would. Like it was such a bad kind of first half, at least. But he's given the players a message there that it's all right as long as we kind of won. When actually that's not the case. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Paul was prophetic.
Yeah.
Not our Paul, Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
He said
He was
after the Atalanta game, he said, if this happens against Liverpool, it'll be 4-0 at half time.
Yeah, and I think I was
And he
quite
got
prophetic as well, because
slated for it. We discussed
I'm
that last
fairly
week.
sure that I said we could easily lose 4 or 5-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah.
It was coming. It was coming
Now,
for such a long time.
there could be worse to
First
come.
decent team they've played as well.
Yeah, exactly. And on that point, Neville, he said a lot of funny things yesterday, but he did say one thing which is a bit scary. But City are up in 2 weeks' time, and the idea of them literally toying with United, and if they play any way like Liverpool did, it could be even messier. So,
For me, the interesting thing will be, let's assume, because I will assume he'll be in charge for the game on Saturday against Spurs. Yeah, because I really don't see that they're going to sack him. I don't understand why they wouldn't, but I don't think it'll happen before the Spurs
but
game.
didn't you say it in a pod a few weeks ago that they've already given contracts to his backroom team? So that's a sign that they're not going to move.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. This is what I mean. There's a certain amount of bad results that just can't be ignored, And I think if it continues, it doesn't matter. They'll all be gone, and rightly so. But it just goes to show how out of touch with what's actually going on the men at the top are, if they're offering these people new contracts. But let's assume he's in charge for the Spurs game at the weekend. Based on the last 2 performances, the likes of Donny van de Beek should be getting the game. Eric Bailly, if he's fit, should be playing. Alex Telles should be playing. I wouldn't go so far as to say the lot should be starting ahead of Wan-Bissaka, because he was absolutely dire the last time he got a run out.
I can tell you, I don't know what your view of it was from the stands, but Bissaka was shocking against Liverpool.
This isn't new. This isn't new.
Really lazy.
Yeah.
He's like, this is the reason, again, I've said it before, why we were in for Kieran Trippier in the summer, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a bad defender. The reason he's such a successful tackler is because he has to he puts himself in the positions where he has to make these last gasp tackles, and he's quite long-legged, and that helps him. He's put himself in that position. If you're a good defender, you're not lunging into tackles all the time. And I'm surprised he doesn't get sent off enough. He really should do.
He reminds me of Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez gets lazy and he lets the opposition get into dangerous situations and looks to his pace to get him out of it. Like if you watch Arnold and Matip together. Matip is always talking to Arnold, telling him where to be. You watch Joe Gomez and Arnold together. The ball's on this wing. The 2 boys just start drifting, ball watching, and then turn and try and make the pace count.
But that's what the whole United back 4 were doing yesterday. They were moving as a unit from one side of the field to the other.
But
unfortunately, they were going the opposite way to the ball.
I'm not convinced. Trent and Robertson to a lesser extent maybe, but Trent I don't think he's a good defender, but what he does have is he's got Van Dijk there controlling and marshalling that defense. Maguire yesterday, he just looks, he's not a captain. He's just not a leader. He's not a captain.
He's not a centre half either. I don't know what he is. If you saw him pulling a cart down the street, I think that'd probably be about as good as he could do for himself. He is an absolute waste of time. He has conceded 11 goals in his last 3 games as a centre half, as an 80-something million pound centre half. 25 million for Shaw, 35 million for Lindelof, 83 million it was for Maguire, 50 million for Wan-Bissaka, and they defend like that and concede goals like that.
Yeah.
Joke, absolute joke. And don't get me wrong, I've said it before. I said this about Tuchel before. You can coach good players to be great players if you're a proper coach. You can coach bad players to be decent players. What Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does is somehow turn supposedly good, great, world-class players into rubbish. And that's what it is. And while we're on the subject of Bruno Fernandes, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He is a fraud. He is a fraud, even more so after yesterday's game. I've seen it now in a light that I hadn't fully seen it before. He never once, that I can recall, has showed up for United in a big game. You've said it before, and I've agreed with you in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it
said it all
for the
last year.
record now. The reason why he doesn't get in the Portuguese team, the reason why United were in for him when nobody else was, is because he's a fraud. Like I said before, he negatively influences United in ways that he also positively influenced. When we're playing the likes of Burnley or Norwich, he'll be the star. He'll be playing through balls. But it's like,
he flatters to deceive. He
He's-
does some lovely things
he's
and
overrated.
scores some lovely goals, and that covers the cracks of a 90-minute performance and consistency.
But there you go, Fergie, or a proper manager versus Solskjaer again. Fergie would take the bit pair players and put them in the flat track bully games, and they'd have massive games, and they go, well done, lads, and they put the right lads out against the Blackburns, who were a good team at the time, the Liverpools, the Arsenals. Do you know, he managed.
Ferguson.
He knew my bit part players were in a bit part game. They had a good game. That doesn't mean I'm bringing them into the main games.
Ferguson,
but this fool can't even recognize that.
And Ferguson won leagues plural with Darren Fletcher and
and Cleverly
and
John
Tom
O'Shea.
Cleverly and John O'Shea's and Phil Neville's playing in midfield. Like
Phil Jones and Chris Smalling playing at the back.
Wingers like Nani, who
Fergie,
supposedly aren't half as good as Sancho.
That goes back to my point. You can, if you're a great coach, you can coach good players to be great players. You can coach poor players to be good players, and that is what Ferguson did. He made teams of sometimes there was world class players in the team, but they weren't all world class. But he made them into a team. And whether he did the coaching, that remains to be seen.
I was just going to say he made teams. Full stop.
Yeah,
and he managed.
All
he managed.
Solskjaer is doing is making a mess.
He had the stones to realize I can't coach and manage, and he brought in Queiroz. He had Steve McLaren. He had Brian Kidd, but he recognized that he had them doing their jobs. This is my job to manage the team.
Yeah.
Carragher made a great point the last night. He says you can't, when you've got a new manager, bring in someone to help. Bring in like a decent coach. Don't bring in Michael Carrick. All these lads that it's their first major gig. You can't have both. And it's
I agree. I totally agree.
It's like too many ingredients, and it's just turned sour.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have to leave it there. Bookbreakrs is a football predictions app. We'll squeeze that bit in before we sign out. Go check it out. Free to play and cash prizes on offer. And we'll be back next week with another topic. I think next week for sure we will be doing who is the greatest player in the world, unless Spurs beat United. And we'll be back Monday crying.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah, and you know what? Years ago we rolled Spurs over because there were Spurs. More recently, they've woken up to us and they're not afraid of us. So that's not a gimme. All right, lads, thanks for your time, and we'll catch you next week. Over and out.
Viva la resistance.